Designing Aruba Solutions HPE6-A47 exam dumps are the best guides for you to study and pass. Share some HPE6-A47 exam dumps questions here. 1. For which scenario should an architect recommend Aruba Central Managed Portal, MSP? A. For a service provider who needs to monitor multi-vendor environments. B. For an enterprise that needs to manage data center services together with the network. C. For a service provider who needs to manage multiple customer networks. D. For an enterprise with many branches that needs to manage services centrally. 2. An architect proposes an Aruba solution with a hardware mobility master, to a customer. The customer has a disaster recovery site which is connected to the main site at Layer 3. The customer requires the to remain available in case of a total site failure. Which plan meets the customer requirements? A. Deploy a hardware to the disaster recovery site and set up VRRP between them. B. Deploy a hardware to the disaster recovery site and set its IP address as the standby master for MCs. C. Deploy the virtual VMM to the disaster recovery site and set the VMM IP address to the same address as the hardware D. Deploy the virtual VMM to the disaster recovery site and configure clustering on the hardware and software appliances. 3. What typically drives the need for an aggregation layer in modern networks? A. Insufficient fiber cabling, especially between buildings. B. Lack of high-speed uplink capabilities at the access layer. C. Simplification of spanning tree protocol at the access layer. D. Need to extend VLANs across wider areas. 4. A customer needs a networking solution that supports their Microsoft Skype for Business Unified Communications (UC) solution. The architect plans to use multiple Aruba APs, switches, and controllers. The customer wants real-time statistics and assessment of call quality. Which component should the architect include to provide these services? A. Aruba Airware. B. Aruba Central. C. Aruba Mobility Master, D. Aruba ClearPass. 5. An architect needs to choose between an Aruba Mobility Controller, MC, 7010 or 7024. Which customer need indicates that the 7024 is a better choice than the 7010? A. The need to support 2000 users or devices. B. The need to support PO+. C. The need to manage 20 APs. D. The need to connect 20 APs directly to the MC. 6. A customer has very high availability requirements for wireless services. The architect plans to implement clustering on several Aruba mobility controllers, MCs. Which benefit of this feature should the architect explain? A. Clustering provides wireless client load balancing and seamless failover for client sessions. B. Clustering provides high stability because 1 megacoulomb is active for all sessions and 1 is standby for all sessions. C. Clustering enables an AP with a failed MC to operate on its own briefly to ensure seamless connectivity. D. Clustering enables an AP with a failed MC to reconnect to a new AP after a short bootstrap. 7. An architect needs to plan a wireless deployment. The architect conducts a physical walkthrough, but still needs more information. Which significant RF obstacle can be difficult to see visually and might require access to blueprints? A. Fiberglass. B. Metal firewall. C. Ceiling tiles. D. Drywall. 8. An architect needs to plan an 802.11 AC wireless upgrade for a university building. What is one reason that it is important for the architect to identify auditoriums? A. Auditoriums typically require a high-density AP design for RF coverage. B. Users in auditoriums often have Bluetooth devices, which can be a source of interface in the 5 GHz band. C. Auditoriums typically require the use of 80 MHz channels to meet bandwidth requirements. D. Auditoriums often require the use of DFS channels for sufficient 20 MHz channels. 9. An architect needs to deliver an upgrade to an 802.11 AC-based solution for a customer. The customer requires an active site survey for the new deployment. Which deliverable should the architect provide to the customer? A. A heat map with proposed AP locations and actual tested coverage. B. A heat map with existing AP locations and actual tested coverage. C. A heat map with sources of RF interface, both 802.11 and NON 802.11. D. The heat map with proposed AP locations and predictive coverage. 10. An architect needs to plan a very high-density VHD wireless network at a large events venue, at which thousands of attendees are expected. The architect plans to deploy a cluster of mobility controllers, MCs, to control the APs. It is important to support seamless roaming for wireless devices across the venue. What should the architect ensure for the network services? DHCP servers can support a high number of scopes with a 24 size. B. A third-party firewall integrates with ClearPass to filter the guest user traffic. C. A domain CA is set up to deploy certificates to a high volume of guest devices. DHCP and DNS servers are carrier-grade and support a low transaction time.